I'm about to go level up, I cannot settle for nothing, I never been regular. Always knew I could do better, I finally made it this far and I'm not looking back. Dated to see all the time that I put in, now me and the money are way too attached. Still reppin' 919, the city is mine and I put it all on the map. Coming for what I deserve, I put in the work, now I'm about to level up. Been on my grind since 2013, now the way that I live, I feel like...
Allow me to reintroduce myself.
You are now tuning in to the Snap Call Podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Snap Call Podcast. I am Xavier.
I'm Ice.
And today we got a special guest with us. We have Rene from the Side Bet Podcast. Rene, thank you so much for taking some time to hang out with us.
Hey, what's going on, guys? My pleasure. Thank you both for having me on. Been looking forward to this. Let's rock and roll.
Definitely. If you are within the poker circles or the casino community circles on Instagram or YouTube, you're probably going to be very familiar with Rene and the Side Bet Podcast. But little high level overview, Rene, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about who you are and kind of what your content looks like?
Yeah, no, look, the content might look a little bit everywhere sometimes, but in hindsight, what it is, it's a platform that I created from a chip collecting hobby that started just from a poor man's souvenir in a way. Go to a casino, get a buck out of your pocket, even after you're losing all your money. Get that buck out of your pocket, leave with a chip and a souvenir. And then what happened? It transferred to a side bet podcast platform that now has a platform for you name it, YouTubers, influencers from any social media platform, and now we just talk Vegas, gambling, history, you name it. We try to touch it all.
That's awesome. And we'll definitely, kind of go into more detail as to kind of what prompted you to kind of make the shift into content creation and whatnot. But I guess we kind of want to start with like the origins and the roots, right? Like prior to us, starting this podcast, we were talking a little bit about the Yankees, right? And I'm interested in hearing a little bit about, kind of your background, because as we understand it, you are in Texas, right? We're in Florida, but we do have some common ground where we're all big Yankee fans. So are you originally from New York and you relocated to Texas, or kind of what does that look like?
No. I'm born and bred in Texas. I grew up in South Texas, small town. Now people know it because I grew up 30 minutes from Uvalde, Texas. Unfortunately, everybody knows why Uvalde, Texas exists now. But to get back to, hold on, I'm sorry, I lost track there. No, so growing up, I didn't have a whole lot of channels to watch. Very few sports teams. The Longhorns, the Irish, you had the Cubs, the Cowboys, of course, the Oilers, and then the Yankees. And right around about the time that I started watching baseball, 1996, when the fan did not help the home run ball when we beat the Orioles, when we took that run that nobody expected us to. And that's how I became a Yankee fan in that sense.
Okay. So we're talking back to the mid 90s. All right.
Yeah, it's funny because like here in Florida, there's a lot of Braves fans, and a lot of reason too is TBS. The Braves used to be on TBS because Ted Turner used to own TBS. So then you see a lot of people like just in the South in general, like Florida, Alabama, the Carolinas. They all Braves fans. Even a lot of people from Puerto Rico are Braves fans just because of TBS.
Wow, I see. That's a good one too. TBS is the other one. I did catch the Braves every once in a while, but I didn't realize how popular they were down there.
Yeah, no, it's big. I mean, thankfully, me and Ice, we went to the same high school, and we're both from up north. Like, Florida's still somewhat of a transplant state, so we get a ton of people from up north that come down, and they're from the Northeast. But the majority of them are coming from New York. So, even though we were down here, and we probably moved down here around the same time, mid 90s or so, there was still a lot of New York fans, New York Yankees specifically, that moved down to Florida. So even though there was a lot of Braves fans, we still had, kind of that, Northeast connection, which is nice.
And look, when the Yankees play in Tampa, it feels like a home game for the
Absolutely.
Yanks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can tell. You can tell.
Yeah. No, it's nice because, we've got the Yankees spending they do a couple series a year. I know Ice tries to make it out there as much as he can as well. And now it's not even Tropicana, which is nice. It's a little
Yeah.
bit closer. It's in George Steinbrenner Field, which is actually in
Right.
Tampa versus where they actually normally play their series. But then we have the spring training. The Yankees come down here as well. So, even though we're in Florida, we still get pretty lucky in terms of being able to see the Yankees pretty often.
Yeah, that's cool. I saw you went to spring training, huh?
Yeah, and it was a Red Sox versus Yankees spring training. So the Red Sox, unfortunately, they had a split squad, so half of their team stayed back, and played a home game. But yeah, it's still a rivalry at the end of the day. No matter who they put out there, and it's cool to see a lot of the younger Yankee players go out there and play as well. So I know we were talking before the podcast, but excited for the season. We'll see what happens.
Very. No, very.
And
So
are you a diehard Cowboys fan?
So here's the catch with that one, right? I grew up a diehard Cowboy fan, but at some point, I can't really be specific where, but I know all of a sudden I didn't really care for them so much anymore, and then all of a sudden I was a Legion of Boom fan.
Oh wow.
Became a big Pete Carroll fan down there. I know the connection also is I'm a big Longhorn fan. So Earl Thomas ended up being drafted out there, and I mean the next thing you know, I love to watch their defense hit. I'm a big fan of contact. I love boxing, so man, when their defense swarmed out there, I loved it. Now I just like watching it for betting reasons, and the enjoyment of watching like superior athletes do their thing.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, me and Ice, we went to the very first UCF football game on campus. Was this 2007 or so?
At
And
the new
it
Yeah.
stadium.
was at our on campus stadium, and it was against Texas, and that's when Colt McCoy was playing there. And
Jamal Charles.
yeah, Jamal
Yeah.
Charles, Colt McCoy. I think Rakbo was there.
Shipley,
Um,
I think was there too.
who?
Yeah.
Shipley,
Oh yeah,
the
Jordan
receiver.
Shipley.
Shipley. Yep, Jordan
Hmm.
Shipley. So like, I'll never forget that because one, it was the very first one. We almost upset you guys. Didn't
Almost.
didn't quite work out, but but it was just the atmosphere was insane, and literally on that very first day, the bounce house was created. Because the stadium was literally shaking, like it's a whole thing over here. But I'll never forget how much bigger the Texas players looked. Your O line, your
Yeah.
D line, like that was my first experience seeing like like this true blood traditional historic college football team in terms of like just sheer size, because UCF was very young in our football, I guess you could say
Uh-huh.
historically at that point. You guys were
Right.
just absolute beasts. It like seeing that up close was like these are NFL players, and I'm sure the majority of the team got drafted, but it was crazy. It
Yeah.
was very eye opening.
At that time, and especially that team, yeah, they were loaded. It was Jamal Charles's breakout year, in a
Mhm.
sense, where if it wasn't for that year, he stays one more year, and who knows, right? But since he had a breakout year that year, he had to go pro, and so did a lot of other people. But yeah, Arakpo was another big time player out of that crew, no question.
Yeah, yeah. It's cool to like go back and see like the box score, and then like all these years later and seeing names like, oh, I saw this guy. I didn't even know. Like we saw UCF versus the Hurricanes, a couple years later, and I was like, I saw Jimmy Graham play tight end for the Hurricanes, and I had no idea, like, because you don't realize who they are right there and then half the time, because they don't blow up until they a lot of times they get drafted based on potential, right? And then they
Right.
get these crazy NFL careers. So just
Right.
very cool, cool little tidbit on the Longhorns.
Yeah, no question. And speaking of like somebody who I got to see Des Bryant.
Oh, nice.
When they came into Austin his senior year or his last year. They also had Pettigrew, I believe, as their tight end.
Okay.
But talk about two big individuals. I was right there where the tunnel was when Oklahoma State was walking out, and I knew who Des Bryant was. I specifically went to go watch him play, and whew, he could play then. He can still play now. I
Oh yeah.
bet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that guy is a beast. That guy is a beast. I'm sure
Yeah.
he's been a couple years out of the league, but I'm sure you can lace him up at any point. He's a freak of nature.
Like Terrell
Yeah.
Owens, no matter how old they get, they still like they could play.
Yeah, man, for real.
Yeah. Okay, so kind of going back, right, and your origins. I mean, I grew up in Hartford, Connecticut. My parents loved driving over to like the Foxwoods Casino. So like my mom to this day, she has a slots um TikTok that she posts to all the time. So like I know where I got my love for casinos, right? Like there's no denying that. Um
Yes.
did you grow up around that, or how did you come into that scene?
So two different ways I came into it, right? Gambling, grew up with it. I grew up playing, five card, seven card, dominoes, loteria, Mexican bingo. So the gambling of, squares for football games, uh, gambling was in the blood. That was no question. Now, how I got introduced to Vegas is a whole different thing. That was because of boxing. My family and I would get together for the Chavez fights, De La Hoya, Tyson, Roy Jones Jr. fights, and there was one common thing: Vegas. And I wasn't sure where they were fighting. It wasn't making sense to me. And then Ocean's 11 was put in front of me. And then it all started making sense. I was like, oh, they're fighting in Vegas and casinos and gambling and partying. And I was like, oh, I gotta go. I was like, I wasn't even of age yet. I was like, oh, I gotta be of age. Okay, so I gotta wait a few more years. But yeah, that's how it all came to be. The gambling aspect I've told people, has always been there. From when I can remember, dominoes have been played, loteria in family gatherings, squares for football games, especially the Super Bowl. Can't miss that one. Uh, so that's always been in my blood. Now, Vegas, that was a whole different twist to it, and casinos, right? Because it still took me, I think, I was 24, 25 when I finally went to a casino. Being in Texas, by the way, I live in Austin. In the middle of Texas, it's going to take an 8-hour drive minimum to get out of the state.
Wow.
And we have no casinos. There's one in Eagle Pass that's way down on the border, which will take me about 5 to 6 hours, I think, from Austin. So what I did is I took a drive to Kinder, Louisiana. Took off in about 1 a.m. in the morning from Austin just to get there in time for the breakfast to open up or me to start hitting the casino floor. So I took a drive to Kinder, Louisiana. Sure enough, the sun was rising when I parked, walked in, and no lie, I never knew the game Pai Gow Poker. It was the only seat though available. Blackjack was taken, craps, you name it, right? I just had the itch to gamble. So the dealer, she was like, "Have you ever played?" I was like, "No." She taught me. Man, an hour and a half, 2 hours later, I was getting comped. I went back and played for another 4 hours.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
sick.
You learn quick.
Man, it was a good time. It was the only reason I took a break is I got hungry and I got comped, so I went to go eat and then I came back.
That's awesome. So Kinder, Louisiana, how far is that from New Orleans?
I think if I'm not mistaken, an hour to two.
Okay. Okay, so not too far. Not too far.
Yeah. So and then from Lake Charles, I think it's another hour or so from Lake Charles. And now Lake Charles is the place to go gamble in Louisiana, in a sense, for us Texans. You have the Horseshoe, Golden Nugget, and then the L'Auberge. All really nice casinos. And in the Golden Nugget and L'Auberge, for example, they have a Vegas style feel because they're kind of connected, and there's a boardwalk you can walk to
Oh,
in
nice.
between them. And in that boardwalk, there's a nice little lake pond. Just be careful with the gators. But other than that,
Yeah.
it's really nice out there.
So you've now, so that kind of prompted you to get into the gambling casino, scene, right? And, fast forward your podcast that you have now, what kind of prompted you to take the love of casinos and gambling and that travel piece and kind of merging it with content creation? At what point were you like, I can make content out of this?
When I first started just posting about chips, I was approached to be on a podcast, Visit Vegas Places. Without him asking me to be on, and just expressing my hobby and the love that I have for these chips and the history behind them all, it really led me to think that there's not a platform like this for chip collectors to really come tell stories that, I mean, are rarely heard of. There's casinos in Vegas that people have rarely heard of, and because of this hobby I'm in, I get the privilege to know about them and study them, and because of all that, it led me to this side bet podcast. It gave people a voice that aren't, your big time voices out there, your Phil Hellmuths and anything like that in a sense, right? These are just your everyday people who have stories, who have the love for gambling, love for Vegas, and then they've been in it, they're in their entire lives, and why not give them a platform to come talk, to come, show their passion and love, and that's what I did.
Yeah, it's funny that I go back to when you mentioned like getting into the casino because of the boxing and stuff like that. So growing up, I would watch all the fights with my dad, and they will have the fights in Madison Square Garden. I grew up in New York, so Madison Square Garden's there,
Yeah,
and in Atlantic City. So I've been to both of them. But
yeah,
then you would see all the fights in Vegas. The Mandalay Bay was big. The MGM. So when the first time I went to Vegas and when we stopped at the Mandalay Bay, I was just like, this is where like the history of like the fights go down and stuff like that, which is pretty interesting. And then I love like, I was playing just blackjack and stuff like that, and you can see like the old like chips with like the matchups in it, like Trinidad versus De La Hoya, Mayweather
right,
chips and stuff like that. I thought that
right.
was pretty cool too with the boxing mixed with the Mandalay Bay and the MGM chips was pretty cool.
Yeah, man, and look, they date back as far as Chavez. The
Yeah.
first boxing chip that ever came out was Chavez versus Randall. And what's funny about the chip, I tell this story a lot. That was Chavez's first loss.
Oh wow.
So
Oh
the
wow.
first chip that ever came out to commemorate boxing, uh, so happened to be his first loss too. And again, it's just, look, that's one chip with one story, and there are, I mean, I can't, hundreds and thousands of chips,
All right.
and that's why this platform had to be created. Now in the platform we reach all walks of life, right? But in hindsight, it's for us collectors in a sense to really come talk our passion and other influencers.
Yeah, I had no idea that chip collecting was like its own sub community in a sense, right? Because, we've been
Yeah,
playing poker for a long time and, we've been collecting chips at different casinos. We go to a casino, we'll pick one up for each other. Um, but I think we were just collecting to collect, right? And it
right.
wasn't until I think, at least for me, when I started following you, and then I started, coming up on your podcast and seeing who you're speaking with and everything, and I was just like, oh wow, there's like a true community of these chip collectors, and
Right.
it makes sense because I remember our very first time in Vegas, went to the MGM Grand, got a chip, and I remember I was playing blackjack, and I had like four different types of $1 chips, and they're all different, and
Yes.
I was like, I was kind of mind blown by that because here, like they'll when they come out with new chips, they pretty much take the old chips out of circulation. So, for
Right.
instance, like when we were at Daytona last week, I picked you up a $1 chip, and I also they just got new cash chips a couple months ago, and I asked them, I said, "Do you have an old $1 chip?" And they said, "We don't have anymore." And all I thought was like in Vegas, man, they got all the chips in circulation. I'm sure they try to clean up some, but I remember sitting there with four different chips that looked like they were from four different decades. And it was
Right.
crazy to me. And that's just not a common thing everywhere. So then that stuck with me. And I was like, huh, it makes sense why people would collect so many different types because there's so many out there. And that's when I was like, this is something I want to explore more. And it's so interesting.
In like in hindsight, right? Like you what you said is like a dollar chip, right? Then you have fives,
Yeah. Then the
25.
denominations just go up.
25s, and you keep going up, right? There's collectors who are collecting hundreds only,
That's crazy.
I know collectors who collect boxing chips only. I love, and for y'all too, y'all will love this one. My biggest focus point on my collection is $2 chips. That's my homage to Derek Jeter.
There you go. There you
Nice.
go.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
I'm a big $2 chip collector. I love the threes. They're called drop chips. The twos, threes, fours. They're not supposed to leave the casinos. Mainly, you're going to find them on pie gal tables and poker rooms. They're not technically supposed to leave the casinos. Uh,
So it makes sense.
Collectors, we find a way to get them out.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, it definitely just kind of opened up, you know, a world that I was unfamiliar with. So, I guess kind of digging deeper into your actual collection. I mean, at what point did you say, was it just kind of like you dug in your pocket and you're like, oh, I got a couple, I'll keep these, or was it like these are so unique, I want to collect more? Because I collect things in general. Like right behind me, I got a ton of Funko Pops. Over here, I've got
Yeah.
poker chips. I've got golf balls from different golf clubs. So like,
Yeah.
do you just like to collect in general, or was this something that you were like, I'm able to marry my collection and my love for casinos, and it gives me a reason to come back to casinos? Like, what prompted the collection starting?
So two things, right? Yes, I always collected in a sense. So when I was younger, I collected cards. Basketball cards were my favorite to collect, and I collected baseball as well. Now, what happened was it started like just getting a dollar chip from every casino I went to, gambled at, literally just to leave with a poor man's souvenir. Then I was introduced to the Casino Collectibles Association. It went to their website, realized there was a whole group, a whole community about this. And then that's when I realized that there are chips that I mean you name it, right? That you can't even think of. That I started to focus in and take it a little bit more seriously, other than just your active dollar chips that are out there. So now I do collect your dollar chips still, right? But my main focus, like I said, is the two, threes, and fours. I love boxing chips, and then here's the other one that's fun: is movie prop chips. I have a chip from the movie Rounders.
Oh,
That was in the movie.
okay, yeah, yeah.
So that's the other fun part. You remember this? Do y'all remember the show Full Tilt? I believe is what it was on ESPN. I think it was a show something like that. It was a series, not necessarily like a poker tournament. There's those chips,
It
Ocean's
sounds,
11 chips out there.
wow, that's
Uh,
incredible.
and so once I got into the community and once I became a member of this Casino Collectibles Association last June, and every June there's a big show. Um, the knowledge that's out there on these chips and how many of them are out there, it's nuts. There's some casinos. For example, I have a chip from a casino. It's called Bunny's Bar. It's Poker Palace it's where it's at now. It's Poker Palace is the current place. But back in the day, I believe in the 1950s, maybe even 40s. Quote me. I'll look you up on that. They had one blackjack table, one bartender who also was the blackjack dealer. So at Bunny's Bar at this casino, if you walked in and you wanted to play blackjack, it was last call until the guy got off the blackjack table.
Wow, wow, and you got a
And
chip from
because
there.
again, because of this community, I was able to not only get this chip and have a part of this history that very few people know about, but I also got to know these stories and so many more.
That's cool. See, like that's the part like I think is what drew me in, right? Is like it's not even just like the collecting piece. It's the
Right,
stories behind it, like the story you mentioned about Chavez and the boxing, right? Like,
right,
I feel very fortunate to have grabbed a chip at Tropicana before it got demolished because now Tropicana is not a thing anymore.
yes,
I'm heartbroken because I can't find my Mirage chip anymore, and
uh-huh.
Mirage isn't a thing anymore. I need to find it. I'm sure it's somewhere, but I had grabbed it when we did our first trip to Vegas like 10 years ago. So, it's definitely one of those things. So, I think the stories behind it is makes it that much more interesting. And I can imagine, you have some stuff in your collection that's like 10x what's on that, that dollar amount on the chip
Mhm.
itself. What would you say is your favorite chip in your collection?
Ooh, that's a tough one. That is a tough one to say. I love my $4 moneymaker chip that I
Nice.
have from Horseshoe Binions. I love my Rounders chip. Look, when I saw that at the casino show, I jumped and I reached into my pocket and I didn't even care what the price was. I just asked them. I was like, "What are you looking for this Rounders chip?" So that's another one. Look, the $2 Monte Carlo chip that I have. It's a beautiful chip. I really wanted to get that one, because Monte Carlo never took my money. I
There you
beat
go.
him every time I gambled there. So it was nice to go get a $2 chip that I can't go get anymore because, again, casino's closed. So, it's the fun part about this, being able to go get some of this history too. Yeah, I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned a moneymaker because I saw a moneymaker chip on eBay, and I was very tempted to get it. And I forget what it was going for, but I was like, I didn't do it at the time, but I'm like, eventually I will get that chip.
Yeah, yeah,
But very
yeah.
very cool, very cool.
Yeah, I saw that Rounders chip you got, and that's sick. Just because yeah, that's one of my favorite movies. Obviously, as poker players, we love Rounders, and then just seeing that chip of high society there, it's like pretty sick, you know.
It reminds you when you win. In my head, I tell people it's one of those that he goes, "I'll splash the pot whenever I want." So I got one of those chips, whether it is or isn't. I
Yeah,
tell people it's from splashing of the pot.
there you go. There you go. That's pretty cool. So I know we had gone back and forth about dates that will be in Vegas this year. I believe you're going out to another convention. I'm not sure if that's the terminology in June. Tell us a little bit about this event that you're going to.
Yeah, look, it's the world's largest collectible show when it comes to casino memorabilia. Show, convention, however you want to call it. I see it more of a show. Look, it's at the South Point Casino. You just walk up to the second floor in a sense. Um, you'll pass the Benny Bennington statue. So again, really cool history to walk by. And yeah, when you get there, the first 2 days, I think it's $10 to get in. The last day, it's free to the public, so anybody can walk in for free, and it is cool. What you do is you walk in, and there's a big room full of dealers, full of vendors, in a sense, standing in front of their collections for sale. And you got buckets on top of buckets on top of buckets, full of these chips, full of stories, and not just chips, tokens, matchbooks, dice, uh, movie posters.
That's so
Uh,
cool.
then you'll get guys like I believe Greg Raymer's going to be there this year. You'll have uh, I forgot his name, but he shows up a lot on Pawn Stars as a historian. Uh, Guys, he's got the long white beard.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
You
ballhead
know,
guy is the ballhead guy.
yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, I
Uh,
know.
so again, you get so much of these people around you, and if you love Vegas and you love history and you just like to talk it up, look, these are the people to talk to because they've been in Vegas gambling. Like, part of being a collector in our minds is you also have to be a degenerate, right? You also have to be a sense of a gambler because you're gambling at all these casinos. Not I'm not going to drive to Red Rock just to go get one chip.
You got to put the
I'm
chips
going
in
to Red
matter.
Rock to go gamble, get some chips, have a good time, then make my way to Durango to do the same thing. So it's part of it. So, and these dealers have some amazing stories, better than what I can to tell you. And I invite all people to go out there. It's awesome. It's awesome.
So one thing that we've been to Vegas plenty of times now, but typically when we go, it's for the WSOP poker specifically, or like a bachelor party, and we find ways to be
Yeah.
degenerates, right? But this time we're actually gonna go out there, and we've never gone out there with a rental car. We'll go off strip and take Ubers, but we're gonna have so much flexibility now going off strip with a rental car. So there's a lot of casinos that we haven't checked off that we plan to go be degenerates at, and then pick up chips in the process. Is are there any casinos off strip that maybe outside of like the Red Rocks that we may have heard of that you would say you have to make sure you go check out, like any kind of hidden gems that stick out to you?
Um, if you haven't been to the South Point, um, I think it's a really, really big hidden gem, even though it's not that far from the strip in a sense.
Mhm.
I love the South Point. Good food, good gambling. And the fun part about most of the off strip gambling, cheap or not cheap, but low limit on the tables. You'll get your $5 limits, which makes it a little bit more fun in a sense of being able to gamble longer, right?
Yeah.
But the South Point, look, Durango has an amazing sports book.
Okay.
I know Circa And
Yeah, we've been to
a
Syracuse.
lot of other sports books that are out there, right? But go check out Durango's sportsbook. It's unique. It's an indoor outdoor thing, and the outdoor part is really cool. The energy's there, but Durango's really cool. The only thing about Durango, I tell people when I walked in there, I felt like I couldn't get anything dirty. It was just too white, too nice. Like I don't want to get anything dirty type deal. But other than that, it is an amazing, amazing resort. I love Durango. Um, Orleans. I love the gambling at Orleans. The poker room is nice. Their casino floor is nice, and overall, I do like the feel of their place too.
Awesome. 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 Yeah, we've done like Rio, Palms, because it's pretty much right there. Done Fremont plenty of times in the strip, but like hearing
The Gold
those
Coast.
the man, we spent a lot of
Gold Coast,
time
right?
at the
Gold Coast.
we
Yeah,
s-
hey, it's there for you.
yeah.
I like their roulette limits.
Yep. The roulette. We
Yeah,
we what did we
we,
do? We
we had
did
a buddy that was spent like 24 hours at the Gold Coast straight.
yeah, we one WSOP, it was a group of us. Basically, like it's right across the other corner from the Rio, but on the opposite corner there were some condos there. So we got a like condo that we rented out for the WSOP. So we were all staying there, and he wasn't a big poker player. He was kind of like phasing out of his poker life and just being a degenerate. So he's all about like baccarat and all this other stuff, and stuff that we'll play, but like me and Ice are grinding 12 hours in the WSOP events, and we're like,
Right.
where's Gufu? And they're like, he's still at the Gold Coast. It's been 8 hours. So yeah, I'll never forget. Like we played
Yeah.
all day. I came back. I took a nap, and then we went to like the Gold Coast to like bowl and went to like the TGI Fridays. And he was still there. Like you go to the casino floor, he's still there. And I don't think he ever made money. That's what concerned me the most. I think he was down for 24 hours, and I never asked him, but he said it wasn't good. So I was like, all right, man. But the Gold
He
Coast
had
holds a
that hope.
place.
He had that hope he could get it back.
Yeah, the Gold Coast holds a special place in our heart, just as an inside joke. But yeah. But it's good to hear you mention those other casinos because those are other ones we have on our list to go to. We're actually waiting for the Orleans to release their summer schedule, see if there's any good value tournaments to hop in there. We got Red Rock on
Right.
there just because we've always heard that Red Rock's a really nice, one of the nicer casinos off the strip, and has some really good restaurants and stuff. So
And I would try to go to Red Rock if y'all can during the day. Uh, the drive is beautiful. The mansions that you're gonna go drive by, amazing. And in the backdrop to the casino, it's just a lot nicer if you go during the day. Is my only recommendation in that sense.
okay, cool. No, that's a good recommendation. I mean, that outside of looking out the hotel room, and we've done like ATVs and all that other stuff, or like dune buggies, like that's as close to the nature as we get. So it'd be nice to go see some of those cool sights with the desert and whatnot in the background.
No question. No question.
Awesome. So shifting gears from casinos to poker, right? Since our inception of our podcast, we've consistently asked people who's on their Mount Rushmore of poker. We've had lots of debates about this in the past. Me and Ice have gone head to head as far as who we have on each other's. So we have like a criteria, right? Four
Okay.
people on your Mount Rushmore poker, and it's a mixture
Four?
of four, and it's a mixture
Okay.
of skill, but not just skill, right? We're not asking who's the top four players in your mind. It's more like a mixture of skill, overall influence on the game, who's helping push the game forward, personality, who's drawn people in based on their personality, like your Negreanu's, your Matasal's, and then of course like consistency, legacy, and those types of things, right? So I guess we'll give you our four just to kind of
Okay.
put it out there, and
Yeah.
then we'll kind of put you on the spot. So Isa, I'll let you go first.
I had Ivy, Negrano, Patrick Antonius, and Doyle Brunson.
Yep.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
the trigger there for me was Antonius. Not taking anything away from him because he's a fantastic player, but we all had our
Right.
reasons, right? I'm
Right.
probably gonna forget what was on mine, but I know I had Moneymaker for sure. I had Negreanu. I had who else did I have? Ice Doyle,
Doyle.
and then my fourth was Helmuth. So For me, it was a mixture of personality and Negreanu, Doyle from just when you think old school poker, you think of
Mhm.
Doyle, right? When you
Mhm.
hear stories, you think of Doyle. We had a chance to interview Justin Smith, who's in Hollywood now, and Justin Smith had some really cool stories about Doyle, and he's actually working on the Doyle biopic as we speak.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then Helmuth, simply because of his consistency, the poker brat in tournaments, he's still winning bracelets as of a couple years ago. And then my Ice's trigger for mine was the moneymaker, because even though he hasn't been consistently winning, I put him there simply because of the moneymaker effect, the poker boom, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that's where we're at. We'll kind of dissect yours a little bit. So we'll give you the floor. Who is on your Mount Rushmore poker?
Mm, okay. I'm gonna split this in two with an old school and two new school, and it's gonna be hard to leave one out. The one that's gonna be hard to leave out is Chip Reese.
Okay.
Okay, that's gonna be a hard one to leave out. But I'll leave him out. Your two new school, I'm gonna go with Helmuth and Ivy. You talk about a skill player and a fear factor. I've never heard many people who want to jump on a table with Phil Ivy.
Yeah.
Uh, don't hear that consistently said a lot. Why? Hey, he's a shark. We've heard stories. We've seen his stories out there. But as far as a poker player, he could flat out play. Helmuth's consistency will put him up there too. Um, Also giving him at a time he stopped Johnny Chan from a three-peat, and at the time was the youngest. And his consistency of being there, and the poker brat, the personality that comes with it. Look, yeah, at the time he was a face to ultimate bet. Uh, so Helmuth and Ivy, your two old school ones. You have to put Doyle Brunson super system, change the game for everybody. There's not been a lot of there hasn't been that many players that haven't read that. They may not use it, right? They may not use those skills, but they've probably read that book or at least have it in their collection. Doyle Brunson, the Dolly himself, needs to be on there. And here's another one. And this one is strictly because of skill. His personality probably wouldn't leave him on here. There's probably half the community hates him. Stu Unger.
I knew you were gonna put
Uh,
him on there.
he sliced and diced through people. And when I was doing my research of him, his World Series of Poker in 1980, that run, if it's true that that was his first big time Texas Hold'em tournament, his first one, and he went and beat Doyle Brunson. Yeah, you're on Mount Rushmore. So I got Stu Unger, Doyle Brunson, Ivy, and Helmuth. And the hard one to leave out is Chip Reese, the old school, and Moneymaker. I do believe it's hard to leave out. His effect is big, but so is Greg Raymer. Greg Raymer was this close to going back to back and maybe
Yeah.
changing that too.
Yeah, almost went back to back, and the field more than doubled in size his second time. What do
Right.
you finish, like 25th the very next year or something like that?
One thing. Mhm.
Yeah,
Right.
so that's crazy. I like how you split it up, old school and new school. I do like that. Um, any thoughts on the Mount Rushmore there, Ice?
I like it. I give you a little explanation on mine. So like when I started watching poker and stuff, it was high stakes. So you got your Ivies and your Patrick Antonis was the two guys that I love to watch. Like they were crushers. Then obviously you look at their resumes; they constantly playing high stakes games, which I'm more of a cash guy. But then they also have a lot of bracelets as well too,
Right.
and they still crushing to this day. I love Moneymaker because he actually got us into poker, the Moneymaker effect and stuff like that.
Right.
And just the average accounting goes to the
Yeah.
wins a satellite, wins the whole main event. So it was tough to leave him off, but I have to, like, as far as influential wise, I put Negreanu in there just because
Yeah.
Negreanu was another one that he's been since on high stakes poker. He's like the face of poker. Like obviously he has his little, more rake the better situations and stuff like that.
Right.
I'm not too big of a fan of him with that, but at the same time he grew the game I think more than anybody. And then also Doyle Brunson is just a legend. Like just old
Yeah.
school, you have to keep him in there, just because WSOP bracelets. and then he plays with Ivy, Antonius, all these high stakes crushers, and they know not to mess with Doyle. They know he has it when he has it, so he's good. So that's my reason. I
Yeah.
like yours too. Just with Stu Unger and stuff like that, it's hard to like believe stories. Like
Yeah.
I know it was great for that 1 year, but I want to see more consistency before I put him in my obviously my Mount Rushmore.
3 World Series of Poker bracelets should get him on there.
Yeah. It's just at that time I just
Main event ones, at least, right? I'm going off the main event on him only in that sense, right?
oh yeah. It's just there's 50, 60 people is different than now. If you win a main event now, it's 10,000 people, so it's a big difference. But I like the stories. I love just like the degenerate he was. Obviously, he had some drug issues and stuff like that cut his life short. But at the same time, just like it's cool watching like this guy's such a good player that just like we just need to get him up out of bed, out of the hotel, and just register him for the tournament because most likely he's gonna win. So he's definitely a crusher.
Yeah. No, I would love to see what he does, and I would have loved to seen what Stu Unger would have done in a big field. I don't know what it would have looked like, but I would have loved to seen it once.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Ice got on me about not having Phil Ivey in my list, and it's funny because we do this, and we'd love to bring you in this year and do it with us, but every year we do a WSOP fantasy league, and basically what we do is right before the series begins, we all draft 5 or 6 players, and then we base like a leaderboard based on how many player of the year points that they get. And there's some stipulations, right? Like you have to have one female, one player has to be like a content creator. Like they could be a full-time poker player, but they have to be known for content before pro type of thing. So,
Right.
Ice, did you have Ivy last year? Was it that or did no one get Ivy? What was it?
No, I didn't have Ivy. I had.
Well, it's just specific to Ivy because what happened was he got on me about not having Ivy on my list, and then Ivy won a bracelet like a week later or something like that. And my thing is like I think part of me is always like gonna resent Ivy slightly, and it's because he's without a doubt one of the best players in the world, if not the best player. Like if it was based on skill, he'd be on there. But part of me slightly resents him because poker missed him so much when he was gone.
Mm-hmm.
He got into some legal trouble. He was playing in these large, massive cash games and tournaments in China. So it was like, I felt like when poker was in its darkest age after Black Friday online poker went down, he kind of just disappeared. And that's when we needed him. So I think part of me is always like, we needed Ivy. And I think that's why I've always put Negreanu, like, not on a pedestal, but like, Negreanu made sure poker stayed in the forefront of people's minds. Ivy, I felt like left us to dry, so that kind of always hurt. But now that he's back, don't get me wrong, love seeing him back. Love seeing how many events he's playing. He's not taking any time off during the WSOP. We learned that the hard way last year because I don't think anyone drafted him because we didn't know how often he was going to play. And then he was playing like every tournament. And we were like, oh shit, we messed up. We should have drafted Ivy. So that's a little backstory into Ivy, but I'm throwing it out there. We do a little, we're going to try and expand it a little bit this year, but we're going to do a little fantasy draft. Very friendly, very low stakes, but we make it fun with player of the year points and some bragging rights. So, and there's a lot of people that people don't even think of on a regular basis. You got your Bryce Akis, your John Racers, like these guys that always make deep runs that people don't think of, and those are the people that you want to go draft. So, would love to include you this year.
Yeah, count me in.
Love it. All right, so we are going to kind of go into the final phase of the interview with you here, and I'll let Ice kind of take it over and kind of explain what he's going to do, and we're going to put you on the hot seat.
Uh-oh.
Right, so we're introducing this new thing we're going to do. It's like rapid fire questions. Some of them are one choice to the other. Some of it is just like, what's your favorite, whatever it is. But it's going to be quick. So I'm just going to fire the questions, and you can try to answer as fast as possible.
Let's do it.
All right, let me know, Xavier, when you're ready.
We are ready. Go ahead.
No limit or PLO?
No limit.
WSOP or WPT?
WSOP.
Mike McDermott or Teddy KGB?
Teddy KGB.
Worm or Kanish?
Kanish.
Favorite hotel in Vegas?
Caesar's Palace.
Favorite Vegas themed movie?
Vegas Vacation.
Favorite poker room?
A Venetian.
Worst poker room?
Oh, don't think I have one.
Favorite poker player?
Stu Unger.
Cash or tournaments?
Tournament.
Straddle or no straddle?
Straddle.
Blackjack or roulette?
Roulette, baby.
Red or black?
Red.
Favorite roulette number?
27.
Slots or craps?
Craps.
Favorite slot machine?
Buffalo.
Willy Wonka.
Heart eight or snake eyes?
Snake Eyes.
Favorite poker hand?
Pocket Deuces.
Most underrated casino?
Mandalay Bay.
Dream casino to visit?
Anyone in Macau.
Nice. And that's it. Nice. Good job,
Nice.
man.
Nice.
You have
That was fun, man. That was cool.
You survived the ICE's hot seat. I love that. I love that.
I love it.
I love the string of roulette questions he had there because it was like roulette, and then the next three were like all roulette questions. So that was
Yeah,
great.
I love it.
I didn't
Love
catch
it.
the favorite roulette number. What was that?
27.
27.
27. Any significance there? Or?
Absolutely. 27 rings.
That's right.
Oh,
That's right.
I got it. That's what I was hoping
And when
for.
it hits, I let people know.
That's awesome. I was hoping. I was like 27. I got to follow up on that one.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I like some of the answers there. Most underrated casino, Mandalay Bay. Pocket deuces with the poker hand there. And the favorite poker room you had mentioned, the Venetian. Have you had a chance to see the new Venetian poker room that opened up?
Just a quick look. Didn't get to play. Beautiful, huge. Probably everything as poker player wants in a poker room. So in June when you guys go, we'll check it out. It's awesome.
Yeah, we connected with the poker room director of operations there on Twitter, and he's like, "Let me know when you guys come by," and we were like, "We will." So hoping we can
absolutely.
get maybe a little tour. Hopefully he'll give us a little green light to record a little bit more content, but we definitely need to make it out there. That'd be really cool if you can tag along for that because the more the merrier. So
Yes.
let's see. Any other questions about the top 20? I loved all the answers. I'm still kind of processing them.
I'm surprised you picked Teddy KGB over Mikey Norman.
Yeah, man. Look, I liked his style. Other than the cookie thing, I liked his style on the table, man. I dig it, and especially when he got McDermott early.
Yep. You had mentioned tournament over cash games. I'm not sure how much poker you get to play these days, but when you play, at the height, right? Were you doing a lot more tournaments than cash games? Is that what it is?
Yeah, absolutely. I got no problem with cash games. Seriously, none at all. But my style, the way I play, it's for the longevity of a game. I love playing chess, so I can sit there for a long time with that endurance in a sense. So I do. Once I get into it, it does take a little bit, right? But once the cards do get flowing, yeah, my game is intended for tournament style.
Awesome. And then we had, what was it? Worm? No, you had Kanish, right? Kanish over Worm, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the grind, man. I love the grinding finish.
Leather ass. Yeah, I love it. That's funny. Yeah, we had covered before as far as I think it was Matt Damon had came out and was talking about there's a potential script in place for Rounders 2. And we've bounced around ideas before of what that script would look like. And maybe that's a conversation for another podcast, but would love to follow up with you on that because it can go so many other ways, right? And the one consistent thing for me I feel like needs to be is, you got to find a way to work Worm back into the story somehow. And then the other thing is it needs to take place, or at least partially take place, in Vegas. I'm like, those are the two things, because the game has changed so much to almost like a math. I mean, it really is a math-based game now, right? With solvers and everything. So it'll be really interesting to see what a Rounders 2 would look like in, 2025, right?
Man, that's a whole podcast in itself. I would love to get on it because you have to bring back Orm, and you have to incorporate Vegas because that's where he was headed to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'd like
yeah,
to think that, yes, ideally, realistically, it wouldn't pick up directly after the first story. However, there has to be some sort of follow up on what came about of that trip and then kind of go from there. So
right.
it'll be interesting, but I would love to see them keep as much of the cast together as possible. I thought that was such a great cast. Really, a lot of those people really
Yes,
early in their careers too. So
yes, yeah. No, no. The cast made it perfect.
absolutely, absolutely.
What was your favorite Vegas theme movie?
Vegas Vacation.
Vegas Vacation. That one's pretty good.
It's a
Love it, man. I love
classic.
it.
Classic. Awesome. So, switching up gears, right? Like as we kind of come to the end here, what, for our audience that may not necessarily be familiar with you and kind of what you've got going on in your content, they have a much better idea now, right? You're going to be doing some traveling in June. I would imagine you're going to be taking tons of pictures and videos. Do you have any other, projects or special kind of videos that are coming out? I know you've sent us some stuff. We love that series. But anything else that people can look forward to?
Yeah, no. Look, we're traveling in June to Vegas, and we're going to be streaming live on the road trip out there. And while we're out in Vegas, we'll be streaming live. I do have a new series on my podcast called "Do You Remember?" And on that series, what we're going to go over is a bunch of old school stories and that you may have heard of and some that you may not have heard of. And I'm really looking forward to that aspect of it. Be on the lookout for the George Foreman tribute. Do you remember? It's a really cool one, fun one. And the other thing that I have going on now myself, as far as this project, is we're on the second annual backpack drive. Go check it out. It's on my Facebook. It's going to be all over my social media here soon. And what it is, it's a backpack drive from my hometown in D'Hanis, Texas. It's a very, very small town. Again, just 45 minutes outside of San Antonio. And part of the raffle it's $10 a square. And the part of the grand prize is it's an hour of a online session with '04 champ Greg Raymer.
Oh,
He'll give you a poker lesson.
that's awesome.
The signed book of Blood Aces, which is an amazing autobiography of Benny Binion. You'll get a Starbucks gift card because there's a Starbucks gift. There's a Starbucks in every casino with side bet podcast swag as well. But right now we're just getting the second annual raffle going, and that's a whole lot of fun to give back to my community.
That's awesome. It sounds like a great cause. When you have those links, please send them our way. We know a good amount of people out in Texas, so we'd be more than happy to help promote that and help in any way we can. And that's a pretty cool prize there to spend some time with the WSOP main event champion Greg Raymer.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And yeah, it'll be a fun time if you get to win that. And I mean, talk about one hell of a poker lesson.
Yeah, right. That is awesome. For our audience that may not know how to find you right now, what is your handle on your socials and what platforms are you on?
You name them, right? TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. You'll find it at the Side Bet Podcast. Go subscribe, follow, do all that fun stuff. We're just telling Vegas stories and having fun in the process, you know.
Absolutely.
Are you going to be playing any WSOP tournaments while you're out there, or are you just going for that chip collection?
I'm going for the collection and a whole lot of other different things, and you'll see part of what that is. But unfortunately, this year or next year, I won't make a WSOP event. But hopefully, the year after that, that's when I have the intentions to get back at it.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, Rene, thank you so much for spending some time with us. It's been really cool to learn a little bit about you, your content, learning a little bit more about your background. Me and Ice, thank you so much for spending some time with us. And just again, thank you so much for hanging out.
Nice, Javier. Thank you guys both. Peace and
Thank
love,
you, man.
man.
Awesome, guys. This episode will be up here in the next couple days. But until then, go ahead and go follow Rene on all socials, The Side Bet Podcast. And until next time, this is a Snap Call. We'll catch you guys later.
Hey, I'm about to go level up. I cannot settle for nothing. I never been regular. Always knew I could do better. I finally made it this far and I'm not looking back. They didn't see all the time that I put in. Now me and the money are way too attached. Still repping 919. The city is mine and I put it all on the map.